Hey, everybody. It's another reverse redaction. I'm back here with Teagan, McKinsey, and we want to talk about Wes Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
And because you suggested I see, what was it? The meteorite. What was it called again?
Asteroid City.
Asteroid City, yeah. And then we went and saw the Phoenician Scheme together. Mm-hmm. And you really like Asteroid City. I did not like Asteroid City, but we both liked Phoenician Scheme. Tell me a little bit about, first of all, real quick, how did you get introduced to Wes Anderson?
Oh, just from film school friends.
Oh.
He's a famous director because of his stylizing and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like the only guy whose every new film goes immediately in the Criterion collection. Does anybody else like that?
I didn't know that.
All of his movies, they go straight in. And so normally Criterion, they're digging up like weird sci-fi effects films, like short films from the 60s.
Okay.
But the only guy who every new movie that comes out straight into Criterion, I think it's him. There might be another one. But
that makes a lot of sense.
But he's definitely the most famous. Yeah. So he's like a director kind of guy.
Okay.
And people who are into film are generally speaking into Wes Anderson.
I see.
And even if you don't like Wes Anderson, then that's kind of on purpose. Like you have to have an opinion about him.
Yeah, he certainly is a character. I mean, they're very his films have a lot of character. No matter what you say about them, they are distinct.
Yeah.
And I got introduced to him back in 2006. And I think it was for my first viewing was Rushmore. I think I just loved that movie. It might have been Royal Tenenbaums. Royal Tenenbaums is my all-time favorite Wes Anderson movie. It's in my top 10 as far as favorite movies. I really appreciate his stylistic sort of picturesque establishing shot and then weird motion style. His dialogue, I think, is engaging and brilliant, intelligent. You know, everything is very intelligent. I don't like his new way of sort of the meta technique. These little, you know, what do you call him? You said you have a word for the stuff he does.
Well, I said, so you covered two of the main points I think about his work already, right? Which is his dialogue is very distinct. It's always awkward, but I like it. I like it because I think it's more naturalistic in a way, even though it's not the way that people really talk. It evokes kind of stilted conversation, which is how a lot of our daily conversation actually feels. It's not very often that we're actually as articulate as we want to be, you know? And so if Tom Cruise is like us at our most articulate and coolest, like every Wes Anderson movie dialogue is like you before your cup of coffee, you know? And because of that, it's just so enjoyable. And it makes his stuff very, very funny, right?
Yes.
So the dialogue's a big one. Like you already said, the camera movements and the framing, shot composition, all of that stuff is probably his most distinct stuff, right? But I would add
also like a certain like color palette is it's a little muted, I would say, with like some bright colors to accent certain elements of the story.
Yeah, that's right. I would put that into the shot composition category because I don't think it's a color palette thing, but you're right that he definitely uses colors to highlight certain things in certain stories, right? But then the third thing I would put in there that you didn't mention, just to make sure we mention it, is stop motion. He uses stop motion in a lot of stuff, right? And he usually talk about visual emphasis, right? He usually uses stop motion, which is sort of an abandoned art at this point. He usually uses stop motion and miniatures and things like that in order to highlight important points or like emphatic emotional moments in his films, right? So all of those things together just makes a director who's already very, very weird, right?
Very quirky, and but lovable. That they're mostly pretty clean too. Every now and then he'll show a boob or something, but not in like a very salacious way. Usually it's sort of like in a picturesque it usually is as art or something.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the right way of saying it, but I know what you mean.
I don't really know how to say it, but it's like usually not just gratuitous. It has something to do with the plot.
Out of his 2 or 3 films, it's never prominently featured. It's never pornographic. It'll be like in a shot in a way that is like difficult to even tell that that's what's happening.
Right.
And so he's trying to emphasize another point usually.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's not get into that part.
Yeah.
There's too much going on there.
Well,
your other point was asking the question about the meta stuff. Right?
Yeah. What do you call that? You had a good word for that.
Well, so I think meta is a good way of saying it. The word that I consistently use to describe a lot of the things that Anderson is doing is artificial.
Yeah.
He has artificial sounding dialogue, artificial feeling camera movements, and that they're not the camera movements that we expect. And so they sort of draw our attention to something that you wouldn't normally see, which goes back to the director's director thing, right?
Yeah.
You would never notice that if you weren't already had a working familiarity with the art of camera movements. You would never notice that he's doing things like that.
Although, like you said, the awkwardness of his movies is very visceral.
Oh yeah.
Anybody
I think it has an effect.
Yeah. So people notice something's off, but maybe they wouldn't notice why.
They wouldn't understand why. Right.
Go ahead.
Well, then going to the plot device thing, the meta framing devices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that is a thing that's come up more in his recent films, but I would say existed in his work already. So he will use vignettes to tell another story somewhere else and then come back to the main one, right? And this is a technique that we're familiar with from novels and from other filmmakers, right? You like flashback sequences.
It's more of a postmodern technique, I would say. It's
what do you mean postmodern?
It's not. I don't think it's a classic tool.
The Odyssey does it all over the place.
Uses flashbacks, but But I think so. It reminds me of some of these more newer books I've read.
Yeah,
where they just have like all of a sudden they just have like 3 dots or something like that, and then they just go into a completely different scenario, which it's more woven in sort of classic literature, wouldn't you say?
No, I think it's a totally real way of doing storytelling. I think it goes all the way back to the Odyssey. I mean, it will. The Odyssey has huge leaps in where the story is, right? Like, just remember the
non-linear leaps. Yeah, you're
right.
Yeah.
It's like so. Like the first 4 books of the Odyssey start with.
I've never read the Odyssey.
You've never read the Odyssey? I can't fix that. Let me explain.
Okay,
like a cornerstone of Western literature to you for just a second.
Thank you, please.
The Odyssey starts with Odysseus' son, who is looking for him. And it goes on like that for like 4,000 lines or something, where he's just looking for his dad. So he starts at home and he goes on his own little adventure.
Yeah.
And then after that, it jumps to Odysseus himself standing on the shore of an island and pining for his wife.
Yeah.
And then it jumps back in time almost 10 years to then he travels for a little bit. He arrives on an island, a different island, and there he starts telling the story of how he got to the first island. And then he goes back 10 years to the fall of Troy, and then he gets you back to the island, and then it jumps back to where he is in the present telling the story. And then he goes and meets Telemachus, his son, who we started with at the beginning of the story. And then they finally get back to his house like 2/3 of the way through the story.
I had no idea it was so complex.
Oh, it's completely convoluted. Yeah. So this is a tried and true way of doing storytelling, right? So I think the meta part that you're thinking about is not necessarily this idea of narrative framing, but is the specific way that Asteroid City in particular is not just using a narrative framing device, like because his other movies are doing this narrative framing device.
Very common.
Right.
Like it feels a little non sequitur in these newer ones. It feels a little disjuncted, using the same characters, but it takes a little while to even understand how they're connected.
You're right. So then the specific thing with Asteroid City, which I think is the one we're talking about in this video.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about both.
Oh, are we?
Phoenician
Scheme
as well.
We're doing one video. We're talking about both of them.
Combining both to kind of compare and.
I don't know what we're doing here, but I'll just keep talking. I'm viewers. I'm very happy to report that this is like my 10th episode of the show, and I still do not understand the premise or what we're doing here. But that's okay.
We're mostly talking about Wes Anderson and these two movies we both just recently watched. Yeah, and they're the two most recent movies he's done.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Asteroid City was like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
and then Phoenician Scheme came out a month ago. Yeah, still in theaters. Yeah.
But he did have these sort of cutaway.
Yes.
Meta. What would you call them? What do you had a word for them?
I said artificial is the word I used.
Artificial, but no, you called them like
narrative framing
devices.
Yeah.
Devices.
Yeah. Well, the Victorian novels are famous for this too. Like Frankenstein starts with this story of this guy who's just voyaging in the Arctic, and then he meets a man who's like bedraggled and half dead, who tells him the story of making the monster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this like narrative framing device thing is very common. But what's weird about Asteroid City in particular is that the framing device is not some other characters who are hearing the story reported,
right,
or someone having a flashback and remembering something. The framing device is that the central plot of the movie is itself a play.
Yeah.
And so the framing device is about the actors and creators of the play, which is the movie that we're watching. That's a very weird framing device. And then I understand what you mean when you're saying that it feels kind of meta, kind of postmodern, kind of ridiculous, right? It's kind of like self-referential, right? I mean, you're right about all that, but not in that it's a framing device, but that he's making a movie about a play. But then when we cut to the play in the movie, it's just a normal movie set. It doesn't look like a stage production or something like that. And so,
well, there was 3 levels, right? There was 3 levels. There was
in Asteroid City?
Yeah, there was the black and white. There was the flashbacks, which made more sense, even though they weren't flashbacks from the movie. They were flashbacks from the play, of the movie.
In the movie, yeah.
So there was like 3 levels that
the play in the movie.
It wasn't in the movie. It was a play of the movie.
It's a movie of a play.
Yeah. Movie of a play.
If it was a play,
play
if it was a play of a movie, we would be in a theater watching a play about a movie. But it's
and you can see why it's confusing.
It's not confusing to me at all.
Well, I mean, you could say that the play was about the movie, and the movie was the actual situation. Like, so from the viewer's perspective, you can say, "Oh, this is what really happened," and then they made a play about it, right? Instead of because they never at any point say this is a movie, right? Or do they actually have movie making?
No, they
devices.
Don't. No, there's no movie making. Yeah, so, all the devices are.
So the play could be about the event that happened in Asteroid City, right?
Right. Yeah. Nominally, Asteroid City is a kind of real place.
Yeah.
That the playwright in the film is making a play about
that event.
Right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. What's really confusing about it is that it doesn't reveal at kind of expected moments. So it would be one thing if there were if it was like a 5-act play, and in between each act you cut to the actors who are playing the characters in the play revealing things about their motivations or how it came around or something like that. But it doesn't break up as neatly as that. Sometimes it interrupts it. The most dramatic moment, it interrupts it in the middle of a scene in the play. In order, one of the actors walks off of stage, and then has this whole conversation.
It takes you out of the
right
thing.
Yeah.
It has a breaking the fourth wall kind of feel to it. But do they ever speak to the audience? I can't remember.
So there's one scene that gets the closest to that appears to be a dream sequence.
Yeah,
but it's not entirely clear what's even happening there. It's neither that. There's one particular scene that is neither the play nor the actual characters outside of the play. It's like a nightmare of the experiences of one of the actors in the play. And so it sits at a very, very weird place in the whole composition of the movie. But anytime you go into dream sequence like that, it has to follow pretty strict rules, which it does follow. in order for it to actually work.
What were the rules that it followed? Like what?
The rules for dream sequences?
Yeah.
So they can be revelatory, but they can't advance the plot, right? That's key for dream sequences.
Okay.
And then people can respond to the dream, but it can't be like two characters can't reach a narrative catharsis
based on the dream, or
no, based on it,
dream?
they can't in the dream.
Oh, interesting.
Because then it's not a dream anymore.
Right.
It's
another frame in the sequence of the story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So a dream has to be these, it can be visions, it can be nonsensical, and whatever character is having the dream needs to come back to the story with some kind of understanding.
Okay.
It's like equivalent with like visits to the underworld in classic literature.
Yeah.
Or like Jonah in the belly of the whale.
Okay.
Where like he's there and then decides, I'm going to go to Nineveh now. Right. He doesn't actually go to Nineveh while he's there, but in this kind of underworld experience, he decides, I need to actually go and fulfill this calling that I have. Same thing in the Odyssey, but I won't explain it.
Okay. Yeah, it's getting really complex here. And this is why.
Yeah.
This is part of the reason I didn't really enjoy Asteroid City. Is that it's demanded. It took a lot of work to figure out what was going on. There were things that jolted me out of the experience. Sometimes Wes Anderson uses stop motion well to sort of but this one, using the stop motion, spoiler for the alien that comes down was I don't know, it just sort of took me out of the movie. I guess I wasn't really there was no characters that really drew me in. I wasn't rooting for anybody really the whole time. They're all sort of despicable. I mean,
you see my smile getting bigger as you're describing this.
That's what you like.
I loved all these things. I loved that, but I'm delighted that you hated it. So okay, that was two different things. What did you not like about the alien sequence?
The alien sequence just it made it.
So the alien sequence is the things get going moment of the play in the movie, right? Things are kind of happening, but then what sets off the main events of the play, which are a quarantine and then consequent developments in the relationships of the characters, right?
Everything up to that point was sort of just building characters, so you understand who's in the play.
Right. So this is the moment that things get going in the actual plot of the play and therefore movie.
Yeah. It was just so sort of hokey and cartoony. It actually is a cartoon, and just pulled me out of. I couldn't tell. Obviously, it wasn't a play because it's stop motion. If it had been even if it had been like a cutaway to the actual play where they have some kind of marionette or something, it would have made more sense than this stop motion, goofy looking little alien. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But somebody once said, when I was learning poetry, said you want to be careful what you establish at the beginning to follow through with it. So if you're going to establish, rhyming sequence, if you're not going to do it, don't establish it or don't have a rhyming sequence early on. If you're going to have some kind of intermittent non-rhyming, and it was certainly quirky, but it wasn't. It established the whole beginning. The first, I would say, the first act is establishes quirkiness, but never anything quite funny. It wasn't like a comedy as much as sort of a, I don't know. There's a lot of conflict, and actually drama. It was very the conflicts. It was about someone's wife dying or mother dying, and dealing with that. It sort of established it as more of a drama than a comedy. There was nothing but bum-ching. There were little things that were quirky, but having a stop motion alien, it would have been funny in certain contexts.
Yeah.
But in this one, it just huh?
Yeah. It's a bunch of very serious characters in a very serious world.
Yeah. And
then a kind of experience with the divine, which is often what aliens are stand-in for, right?
Yeah, okay.
It's sort of experience, but it's not an experience of glory like you expect an experience divine. It's an experience with silliness, with goofiness, right? And then this sets off for them not immediately silliness and goofiness, but it sets off for them even more like serious responses and like grave, you know, right? Like their response to this silly moment is not to laugh at it, but all of these characters respond by like ratcheting up all of this pressure, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a joke on them.
Yeah. Although I don't feel any tension really the whole time. You see the tension, but you don't really feel any, and nobody really expresses. Some of the characters are sort of ratcheted up in their quirky affect, but
you didn't feel like you could relate to anybody in the movie, huh? No. Wow. Okay.
No, I just felt disconnected from everybody felt so fake. And there was nothing
fake.
The whole thing felt fake.
Well, the movie feels fake, but the character motivations felt fake.
Yes, not fake, but odd. And like,
oh yeah, it's odd. Yeah,
it's so odd that it didn't feel real.
Yeah, but that goes for all of his films.
No,
okay.
So I want to contrast. So this is where I want to sort of segue over to
Phoenician
Scheme, where I felt like all the motivations, well, almost all. Were made a lot of sense and followed, you know, and I was actually engaged, you know, emotionally with all the characters. I don't know, almost all the characters. The three main characters for sure. And
why don't we set up what is Phoenician Scheme about?
Yeah, it's just about this guy Anatoly Zaza Korda, who is this sort of he's sort of set up as at least questionable character who is industrial businessman, right? In the 50s, I would say, or something like that.
Before the
50s.
He's the kind of guy that James Bond would get like a plot advancing thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of Act 2, James Bond would visit this guy in like a villa in Greece.
Right. Yeah.
And get
maybe James Bond, but I was thinking more Indiana Jones, right?
Right. Yeah.
In fact, he looked like an Indiana Jones sort of like side character.
Yeah. Well, that's the time period.
Sketchy sign. Right. Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it is.
You're right. Yeah.
But you see really early on that there's an American faction that is suits. So maybe political. We're not really sure. It seems political, right?
Oh, yeah.
Very political. Okay. And maybe some kind of one world government or an American government.
Yeah.
They all speak sort of with American accents, are trying to stop him. And then you see he survives this plane crash, and you find out that he has survived. He's like a cat with 9 lives, just surviving all these attempts at murder attempts at towards him. How would you say that? Against him. Yeah. And then the main thing is that he's trying to get his daughter, pretty much his oldest child, who wants to become a nun. He's trying to get her to accept his inheritance. He wants to engage her in this Phoenician scheme,
right?
Which is this maybe like 6-part scheme of. I'm not really sure what it was trying to accomplish, though. That's one thing I don't. If looking back, I'm like,
that's what the stop motion was at the end, right? The dam with the.
But I guess I really don't know how to explain what that is. It's some kind of.
Well, it's sort of the point, right?
Yeah, okay.
It's about his scheming. It's not about.
Yeah, it's going to different places in this fake Middle Eastern region called the Greater Independent Phoenicia or something like that.
It's Israel.
Israel, okay.
Yeah, that's where it is.
You're explaining.
But it's before the nation state of Israel is created, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And he's just going to these various like capitals, well, mainly going to these business people, trying to get because the government guys ratcheted up some of his economics in his region,
right? And
he has to go back, and it's causing disaster to the scheme. He's got to go back and renegotiate terms. You find out he's such a he's a people person, and I don't know, he just finds ways of getting people on his side.
Yeah, the action of the movie is watching him negotiate and try and make these business deals happen
with his daughter,
right?
And a third character who is like this is played by Michael Sarah. he plays this insect expert,
Yes.
or something, a tutor.
Yeah, right.
It turns out to be something else.
Right. Yeah. Which is par for the course in this movie. Nobody is who they seem to be. It's a spy movie about people doing business deals.
Yes.
Right.
Very good.
And the three main characters are this guy who's played by Benicio del Toro, who is still great at acting. Dude, Benicio is still turning in career performances.
Yeah,
how old is that dude now? He must be in his 70s at this point.
Really?
He must be.
I gotta look that up.
Yeah, well, he was starring movies in the 80s, wasn't he? Yeah. Well, anyway, so Benicio turns in another career performance.
Oh, excellent. And then this I don't know this actress who played his daughter.
His daughter, yeah. So you got him, the business guy.
Her name is Mia Threepleton. Anyway, she plays Sister Lyle.
Yes. So it's
Liesel.
It's him. Yeah. It's his daughter, and it's this insect entomologist guy, right? Who's supposed to be teaching them and explaining about insects to them throughout the movie. Yeah. And they go through all these different things where they're trying to negotiate and try and make the big deal happen, right? Yeah. And then the exciting sort of revelations at the end of the movie are who has been scheming against him. Yeah. Does the big thing that he's trying to make happen, does he succeed in making it happen?
Do they
succeed? Yeah. Is his daughter, is she going to accept his legacy or reject it? Yeah. Right. All of those kinds of things.
Now, see, we can easily talk about the plot like this, right? Because it has a very linear. Now, as contrast to the Asteroid City, which I mean, if you asked me to explain the plot, I mean, it would take another hour.
I'm going to become a hostile interviewee if you keep on talking about how confusing. The plot of Asteroid City is very simple.
Okay, give me the plot.
Well, we're going back. This is not good podcasting at this point. This is just us bickering.
Well, in some ways, actually, no. You could reduce it to a simple, just
So the plot of Asteroid City is that there is a father and his son and his three daughters. And his wife, their mother, has recently passed away, and he hasn't had the courage to explain to them that she has died.
Yes.
And so they are in a small city, a small town that's just a stop off. Their car breaks down
there
as he's taking them
in the desert.
Right. As he's taking them to his father-in-law, and they're going to stay with him because he is a traveling guy who does reporting in war zones.
Yeah.
And so he goes, I'm not a suitable person for you to stay with. So they're going to the father-in-law in order to drop the kids off with them. And then while they're there, they're stopping off because the son has this contest that he is participating in that's happening in this little town. So they stop off in order for him to participate in this scientific invention contest, right? And then while they're there, an alien shows up and the whole town gets quarantined. Shut down and quarantined. All the military shows up. And then hijinks ensue from there.
Kind of, I guess, yeah. I mean, hijinks.
There's lasers fired and jetpacks and people looking into space. You just don't like the movie. That's okay.
As you're talking about it, I think the difference, if you contrast the two, is one's like these nerdy things about nerdy people, and one's about like
an exciting
like intriguing plot of business and politics.
Yeah, one's a family drama where an alien shows up, and the other one is what if a James Bond B character was having a midlife crisis at the age of 60.
And so I guess that's the big reason I like the latter better than the former. It's just
you didn't get to watch anybody explode in Asteroid City. That's why you didn't like it.
I mean, it might have, but I mean, even when you mention like lasers and stuff like that, it's all like these kids' little school projects that they're.
No, Asteroid City is a much harder film. I don't think it's weird to not enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's weird at all. I mean, it's and notably the thing you didn't like about Phoenician Scheme. And I want to be careful about spoilers about that part. Even though I'm not normally a be careful about spoilers guy.
So from this point on, we'll talk spoilers. If you know, if you're watching and you haven't seen the movie, you go watch it before you see the rest.
So, spoiler: it turns out the guy scheming against him is his brother, half brother.
Half brothers,
Right. And so there are these quick series of revelations about the characters and their loyalties to each other.
Newbar.
Yeah.
His brother.
And it all happens really, really quickly right at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And it goes from introducing him to him being the primary villain of the piece within about 7 minutes.
Very quick.
It's real fast.
And there are certain flashes of, so he also, in this time, he also unveils this like package.
His big project.
Well, no, his package to his daughter that was supposed to be really meaningful. And that's somehow, I'm not really sure, very important to Newbar, the bad guys, not totally destroying everything,
right,
taking it out on himself instead of everybody else or something,
right. So the difference is that he, the primary character played by Benicio, is interested in family and in legacy, right? Yeah. In legacy per se, whereas his brother is obsessed with blood. So so his brother,
and he says that like actually,
yes,
actually blood. He keeps saying, "I have samples of everybody's blood."
Right.
And what's his name? Kobar says, "Not everybody's." He keeps singing, "Not everybody's blood."
Yeah.
What's his name? Corda.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what he meant by night, but he did get a blood infusion at one point, so maybe that was part of it.
Well, it's a contrast in what is the true legacy, right?
Oh yeah.
So is legacy,
blood versus blood? Yeah.
Yeah. Is it blood as in like the physicality of the thing? So he is the half brother played by Benedict Cumberbatch is only interested in the other characters in as much as they are related to him or not related to him physically, right? Whereas Benicio del Toro, main character, wants his daughter, and there's a question about whether she's really his daughter or actually his half brother's daughter, right? He doesn't really care which one she is. He's impressed by her moral character and wants him to be his heiress either way. Right. So it's an obsession with, propagating genes. That, it's kind of like a Nazi-ish inflected kind of thing, right? Yeah. As opposed to valuing someone's moral character.
Well, not necessarily Nazis. I mean, this would be maybe I could see this kind of conflict being in a regular, like, say this is pre-Jewish,
It's
like a Jewish problem, right? Like whether real blood is important or the legacy of the family,
right?
Like that.
Right. Yeah.
It's actually that's a biblical theme that we see in some points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
who are the true heirs?
Yeah, who are the true heirs?
Yeah, it's a serious question, but it all plays out in 7 minutes, and then they're trying to choke each other to death, and then one of them explodes, and then the movie ends. Yeah, and it happens really fast. This is what I'll say. I did not mind this because this is talking about artificiality. It's the most artificial moment in the movie,
for sure.
And I show up to a Wes Anderson movie for the artificiality.
Okay.
I want to see him get away with it, right? Like that's what I'm. This is where not having seen all the same movies is going to handicap us a little bit, because the one movie of his that I've seen that I'm kind of about is French Dispatch, which I think is too artificial to the point that it doesn't actually arrive at a meaning.
He doesn't get away with it.
You're right, exactly. I think Asteroid City gets away with it. I think the movie is the themes of that movie are very, very meaningful. And we'd need like another 3 episodes to get there. And I'd probably have to get you to like it before we could get there too.
But the biggest problem I have with Asteroid City, and the biggest contrast is, I go to Wes Anderson movies to laugh in an intellectual way. And not just at a slapstick. Like I love his intellectual use of comedy.
Yeah.
And
this is the millennial who grew up on him as the indie film guy, who came out with like 3 movies.
I'm more Gen X, but yeah.
Oh, you're on the line, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on the line.
Well, I'm on the line, millennial Gen Z. So whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is the people who were introduced to him early in his career, who like him for his witticism and his indie filmmaking chops, versus people who were introduced to him through Life Aquatic and Grand Budapest Hotel, where I like it for the artificiality.
And it's true, Life Aquatic we both like, but it is that sort of place where he moved. From
it's a fulcrum for sure. Yeah, there was his mid career is very different from his first 3 or so movies, right? Yeah, there's different things you show up for.
Yeah.
So that's.
But I'll say this: I didn't laugh at all in
Asteroid
City.
You didn't laugh at all?
No.
Oh my goodness!
I wanted to. Like sometimes I kind of forced a little giggle
when the engine drops out of the car and bounces around the entire shop, and he goes, "What's wrong with it?"
I guess
after the engine's bouncing around, he goes, "Can you fix it?"
Okay, that was funny.
The guy goes, "No."
I got a smile out of me, but I was laughing out loud at from the get-go in Phoenician Scheme.
Phoenician Scheme, yeah. Phoenician Scheme is really funny.
It's just
Michael Cera. Yeah, Michael Cera's hilarious.
Oh, Michael, but even take him away. Benicio del Toro is really funny.
Hilarious. Yeah. It's more lighthearted movie.
It is.
Yeah.
It's going for more comedy and adventure.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that more than nerdy devices.
Yeah.
Cinematic devices. But
yeah.
That said, I'm still a big Phoenician Scheme help me bring me back into the fold. Yeah.
Will you come back for his next movie?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're back for the next
Yeah, I'm back for the next movie.
Okay.
I was a little worried.
Okay.
After his last couple of ones. I'm not a big fan of his stop motion.
Oh yeah. I don't like it.
I mean, they're fun, but But like you said, I think you hit it on the head, is because I'm, I started, I went back and watched Bottle Rocket and Rushmore after watching the Royal Tenenbaums. I'm really into his
the characters,
intelligent comedy
jokes,
using characters, using quirky character and like you said, awkward character development and dialogue. So I don't know. Oh well,
we're going to reverse redact at some point.
We have to. We get to our segment.
So what?
The so what segment of reverse
talk over the transition.
Well, they can hear me.
It cuts it. Oh, okay.
So what?
So what?
Yeah. What do we take? What do we take from this? I mean, do we just go to see movies just to be entertained and amused, or can we take something away from some of this? My dad and I recently talked about dialogue and the importance of dialogue.
Yeah.
And the importance of being. And I guess I thought about that as you were talking about the awkwardness of dialogue. And I think it is good first to so after watching a Wes Anderson movie, I do have a sense of being more particular and raising the level of conversation to something a little bit more intelligent, right? He just he gives that vibe after watching it. And the other thing is, I think that it's okay to lean into awkward situations, and as Christians, I think we're going to have to in ministry lean into, or at least get through awkward dialogues with other people to get to the heart of things. And I do think that Wes Anderson brings that out, that through all this awkwardness is real heart, real desire to be better. His characters get better. We forgot to mention that Corda gets, he at the end,
big spoiler.
Oh, spoiler. He asked to be baptized into the Catholic Church, which I thought was pretty interesting.
That was at the Dark Night of the Soul moment of the movie.
Yeah,
he has this big character turn, and it's totally legitimate. Like, the movie doesn't make fun of it. No. It's taken straightforwardly as a he is turning over a new leaf. And then the remainder of the movie is conducted under those terms, as if he's trying to be a good person.
Guy.
Yeah.
So that's my takeaway. What is your so what moment? Is what do we take away from both of these movies? What is it? You love Asteroid City so much. Yeah. What do you take away from it that helps with ministry or everyday life?
Well, part of it comes out of the parts that you don't like very much, which is that I where the framing device in Asteroid City lands is especially in big productions, the people involved in them do not understand what makes them good. I couldn't agree with that more. The people making Star Wars nowadays have no idea why people like those old movies, have no idea why kids enjoyed playing Star Wars video games, right?
Mm.
The people making the Marvel movies have no idea why Iron Man like clicked with people in 2008, right? And so even if they try harder and harder to do it the right way, often they're just not going to. Like, good art is extremely hard to do.
Yeah.
And if people are good at it, many times it might be accidental and not even because of any particular virtues that they possess, right?
Yeah.
And out of the A plot, the actual play within the movie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that so many of the characters in that movie, like a classic noir, so many of the characters are kind of battered and broken, and no one has a real good moral turn at any point, right? But something I think that comes through in both those movies is loyalty and fidelity to one another as human beings, right? Any character redemption that, and this really is a through line for both these movies. Any character redemption is gonna come about from having been loyal to people who it's questionable whether you really should have. Definitely they didn't deserve it, and it's questionable whether you even should have. I think that that's absolutely the case. I think that loyalty is full stop something worth doing as practicing as a virtue.
Commitment to each other. Human commitment. I think you're right. There's something really important, and Wes Anderson that is a through line in all his movies is commitment in the form of either love or family or friendship, you know, is important, and in spite of hijinks, in spite of weirdness, it overcomes.
Yeah. Talk about ragging on other Hollywood movies. I hate the found family story that comes out of Hollywood movies, where the family of origin, you know, falls apart and they never understood me and they judged me, and then now we're a family. Fast and Furious, and even Guardians of the Galaxy, and like all. I hate that story. It drives me insane. And there might be good versions of it, but it's been done in too many movies. And I'm not a big fan of it. And so what, you know, the joy that we experience from other human beings, that is not a product of convenience.
Well, that's interesting, because that is a big theme for Gunn. What's his name?
James Gunn.
And we're gonna have to watch the Superman movie, because that's gonna be
that'll be interesting.
That is the found family thing is probably
100. It's in every single one of his movies that I've seen. He loves that story.
He loves that theme.
Yeah.
Which is in contrast to Wes Anderson. It is more of
commitment is not a convenient thing, a convenient source of joy. You know, it's not that it's just you fit perfectly into my life, which I've already constructed before you got here, right? And you make me happy as long as our lives sort of conveniently manage to arrange themselves around each other, right? That's so gutless and has no free will involved in it at all, right?
I like Wes Anderson, who's saying human commitment is something that we persist with, because it is virtuous, in spite of all this other crap, you know, that's going on, we stick to it because it is worth it,
which is the conversion of the primary character in Asteroid City, the dad, is instead of just dropping the kids off, I'll never see them again, he resolves to be a part of their life and to help them with the things that they're interested in, which is not something that he was committed to at the point that the story started. And so he is committed to being involved with the kids and with the father-in-law.
He was kind of trying to run away from the whole trauma of his wife dying, and mom dying. So but at the end he sort of faces it. And he's forced to face it. I get why you like it now. Forced to face it because of
stop the show. I won. That's all that matters. I came here to win, and I won.
Well, we can end on that note.
Sweet victory.
I think so. I'll give it to you. So the next one we should do.
Only funny because you don't care.
Might be funnier if I did care. You know, I was like super hurt. but maybe I am inside. The next movie I think we should do is Superman because it sort of follows this directly.
I'm down.
Yeah,
and we can talk about James. We'll talk about that later.
James
Gunn.
Anyway,
yeah. Well, if people haven't watched Wes Anderson, go watch Wes Anderson.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
It's mature.
Yeah,
it's not for kids.
It's not for kids.
But
neither are the best books of the Bible. So,
so we'll end with that. Thank you, everybody, and join us next time for another reverse